the American people stand firm in the faith which has inspired this nation from the beginning. We believe that all men have a right to equal justice under law and equal opportunity to share in the common good. We believe that all men have the right to freedom of thought and expression. We believe that all men are created equal because they are created in the image of God. From this faith, we will not be moved.
Hello, God bless America, and thank you for joining the Freedom of Thought podcast. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Owaj, and Freedom of Thought is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Audible, Double Twist. Thank you always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to join you once again. Today, TuneIn Radio is another option, of course. Today on the Freedom of Thought podcast, we're going to talk about cryptocurrencies. I'm not going to go on and on and on about Bitcoin, because that's pretty much what most shows these days have been talking about, is pretty much just Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And it's like, what cryptocurrencies? What other ones? Cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin's the only one you really want to know about. That's the only one. Well, its price right now, as I'm watching it streaming live on the Voyager application. There's multiple applications you can use, and of course, you'll find out that there certain applications will let you buy and sell certain cryptocurrencies, and other ones will let you buy and sell other cryptocurrencies that the other one didn't, and so on and so forth. So if you're going to be looking into getting into this, you might have to get multiple applications and put them in a folder on your smart device. Not difficult to do at all, honestly, and it's not that complicated. It's just goofy a little bit in terms of having to have multiple apps to do the same thing. A disclaimer, I'm not an expert on cryptocurrencies. Yeah, I'm more here to kind of talk about that. Well, there's more going on out there besides. What am I pressing? Something's going on with my computer. I apologize. There's more and more going on out there with cryptocurrencies outside of Bitcoin. Obviously, right now, as it's streaming, it's 58,722, 24. Yeah, it's just going to jump all over the place and such and change, so to speak. It's bouncing all over the place, but yeah, it's over 58,000. The good news is, yes, you can buy fractions of it. I own 0.001 of a Bitcoin. So like 1 is a Bitcoin, 0.1 is 10% and 100, so I own like 1,000th of a Bitcoin. Just a couple bucks, about 58, 60 bucks, whatever the heck it is, of Bitcoin. Just what the heck, just kind of engage, get a little bit here and there, and it's a good way to kind of store away your money, especially as you don't trust further and further the way the dollar is going, and with the way this government is heading, the unbelievable inflation that is heading our way, thanks to the socialist nonsense that's been going on since the Trump administration, because of the socialism around him, kind of them basically forcing it down our throats. It's just, it was what it was. Trump pretty much had no choice. So, with all the stimulus package and all this, and the stimulus checks, and, the fact everybody just kind of had to throw their hands up and, we got to just stay home and not work. And when people can work, they just choose not to. In other cases, they weren't allowed to go back to work because of government control and this and that. So that's where you maybe it turned to cryptocurrencies. A lot of people made money off the stock market. A lot of people made a ton of money off of Bitcoin, and you still can. There's no doubt about it. It could get to up to 200,000 in the next couple of years. People are saying even up to the end of this year, it could get to 200,000. That's a possibility, and you'd make a few 100% on it. But then there's other ones like Dogecoin that's been floating around out there. That's extremely popular. So not many podcasts have been talking about Dogecoin. Michael Savage kind of mentioned it in passing a few weeks back in April. It was like Dogecoin, Bitcoin, this is going on, this and that. Well, Dogecoin's been floating around, and as soon as tonight, Saturday Night Live with Elon Musk, we'll see what happens. Elon Musk has been talking good about it. Other companies have been popping up. I wouldn't mind bringing Paul Caniff on about this, and I probably will in the future, because he's really gotten into, he's gotten deeply into cryptocurrencies. He kind of got me going with this thing with Doge. I was kind of messing around just thinking about buying a little bit of Bitcoin, as I had been kind of doing it, but it's very small. I mean, like I just said, like 50, 60 bucks. It's hardly anything. And that's because my attention turns over to Dogecoin. At this moment, I own a moderate amount of 2,500 coins. Most people would think, so what? That's just like $1,600. Yeah, that's what I own right now. But obviously, at 63 cents, almost 64 cents, as it's floating around all over the place in the 60s. Man, it could have been an unbelievable investment if you were able to get in say at the end of beginning of April, end of March, something like that, 3 cents. It's unbelievable how much money you can make, and the talk that this one, the way it's structured, could easily get into the dollars, like well into the dollars, $5, $10, $20, even beyond up all the way up to 100. It would take some kind of change in the share structure to get to 100, because we're talking trillions of dollars to get there. As obviously, for each dollar amount, it has to match for like $1 has to match the share structure. So, like, say there's 1 billion coins out there. It would take 1 billion coins purchased to make the price $1. That type of thing. And so on and so forth. 2 billion for $2. And when it's like something like a trillion, like some of the other coins out there, it would take $1 trillion. Obviously, structures can change. They can make them go away, this and that, reverse splits, stuff like that. So things can change that way. It's complicated. Again, I'm not this major expert, but I do know about the stock market, and I know how the math works with a lot of this stuff, this and that. And again, just there's interesting options out there. Dogecoin is an interesting one. Again, it's 63 cents. I mean, if it gets to $5, think about it. Just do the math there. Use a little calculator, and it's a nice gain. It's a nice gain. Wish I had at least 10,000 coins of that, but again, I was a tiny bit late to the party, though I did get in. I got a couple coins at 18 cents. I should have gotten a ton more, because there was a big drop about 2 weeks ago when Joe Biden was threatening to double taxes on gains through cryptocurrency. So that's, whoa. Am I seeing this? It just dropped to 60. Something's wrong here. No, it can't be that fast. Whoa, that's a pretty significant drop. Nope, something else happened at 63. But there's other interesting options out there. Obviously, there's a bajillion out there. Neo's Neo's one you can use to trade, because some of these applications, they won't let you use your check card or bank account, like checking account or savings account, whatever, to deposit money into the application, in order to move it into the, in order to trade that money into cryptocurrencies. Some of them you have to use cryptocurrencies to buy the other cryptocurrencies. So you buy cryptocurrencies on the app, and then, that's complicated stuff. But obviously there's YouTube tutorials for that, thankfully. That's all you got to do is Google that, I guess, basically. Thank you. Paul Caniff has helped me out with that in the past. With other applications like, what the heck was that one called? Bitmart. There's Bitmart and KuCoin, K-U coin, and Bitmart, B-I-T, Mart, like Kmart. Bitmart, that one you can buy. There's just so many different. This one, that was not the one you buy. Telcoin. See, that's another one out there. Telcoin, which is a major option. It's been floating around 3 to 4 cents. So again, do the math there. And that share structure is pretty small for that currency. So definitely something to look into at some point. Yeah, right now it's trading at 3.64 cents basically, and then other numbers behind it. It's unbelievable how many different fractions you can put in. This is a beautiful looking application. It's just, unfortunately, you have to kind of purchase. In this case, you'd want to buy Neo according to the YouTube application or the YouTube video on it, because there's no transaction when you put the money in. Some of them, they actually charge you money, so that's kind of a headache. You'd actually lose money to trade, which is, well, I guess that's the world, I guess, for you. Everybody's got to make money somehow. The Telcoin, T-E-L, Telcoin is definitely one to look into. That one's got a ton of potential going forward. Again, a very small share structure, if I remember correctly. But this one's just so... It's a little bit of complicated app here, token info. Yeah, circulating supply, 51 billion. So that's actually small. In the stock market, I think that's kind of a lot. But no, 51 billion is pretty small, actually. The maximum supply, 100 billion. But there's ones out there, like BTT, that are... Nope, that's another one. BTT is another one. We'll get back to that in a moment, as you get confused with the different options out there. Man, that's a big one. I think that's the one. Yeah, BTT is a pretty big. It's a bigger share structure. 990 billion total supply. So that's quite a bit. Circulating supply 659 billion plus. So basically, 660 billion. So yeah, it would take a lot for it to get to $1, but it's a fraction of a cent. It's 0.007. Interesting one though to look at, of course, to make a little bit there. It would take a lot for it to move, but of course, again, share structures can be changed by the owners and such, the owners of these coins that that manage them, the managers of these coins. It's complicated stuff. SafeMoon was the other one that I was talking about. 785 trillion max supply, 785 trillion. So that's a little crazy. That's well into the sub-penny range, if you know what I mean, 0.0001, that type of thing. Yeah, it would take trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars for it to even get to $1. So that one's, I think, one I wouldn't be too excited about until maybe later on when the share structure is adjusted at some point. I'm guessing it will be, so the stock can move, or not the stock, but the price can move. It works just like the stock market. As again, like I was saying, like say, imagine the circulating supply is $1 billion, and $1 billion would make it $1. That type of thing. You just it's simple math at the end of the day. It's nothing too crazy. Crypto.com is another application. That's the one I actually use in order to trade Dogecoin, but you could use Voyager as well for that one, and of course Bitcoin's on everything because everybody wants to trade with Bitcoin, no matter who you are. The very, very interesting one, though, that I acquired 2 million coins in today for just a few dollars, very small amount. Shiba Inu. It is the symbol for that one is SHIB, and I recommend that. The market capitalization is only, and that's the cap. That's how much money's in right now, basically, like money that's in the share structure, so to speak. Is only $6 billion. So that's quite small. So imagine that thing getting up to again. See, that's another thing you can think about. That gets to 12, the current value is doubled, this and that, and so on and so forth. And it's moved up about 500% today, which is insane. A crazy, tiny fraction of a price, 0.0001684 at the moment. That's insane. Obviously, the likelihood of that one getting to $1 or anything is pretty crazy because the structure is way off into the, quadrillions pretty much. I'm not even kidding when I'm saying that. But there's potential. It's moving a little bit in this fraction of a price, and things are happening. So you can make a couple bucks if this thing goes up a bit. Again, but don't invest too much in ones like this. Who knows what's going on? It even already has a logo. So it's basically similar to Dogecoin, where it's got this cute little dog, this Japanese dog, as a symbol, which is pretty much what Dogecoin does as well. DOGE, an application, on most applications, Dogecoin is available. It's very popular right now, and I recommend it. I recommend it even at its current price of about 65 cents because it's going to get into the dollars. I recommend it. Why not? Why not jump on this opportunity? And again, obviously Bitcoin is what it is. People have constantly been talking about the price of Bitcoin. It's going to get into the 200,000 range in the next year or so. People like Max Kaiser, guys like that, Gerald Celente, guys like that you hear on InfoWars oftentimes. Obviously Alex Jones. Yes, I'm an Alex Jones fan. Yes, so if you hate me so much for saying that, then I'm sorry to tell you. But yeah, I don't worship Alex Jones. I don't agree with everything he says, but I agree with a lot of what he says and a lot of what his guests say. There's one called Venus. That's interesting. That one's kind of popped on the scene just now. It looks like Viget, the Viget application, which is an affiliate I have for my sports podcast. I wanted to put it on this one, but I'm thinking I probably shouldn't because it's not sports related, even though I talk a little bit of sports on here sometimes. It looks just like the Viget application, V with the lines through it. That's funny, Venus, so that's $134. There are so many cryptocurrencies out there, it's insane. It's kind of scary, I know. I mean, you're investing / trading at your own risk, so it's nothing to... You don't necessarily want to dive headfirst in, but boy, the temptation's there because Dogecoin back in January was less than a penny, and it's 65 cents right now, and they're talking dollars with an S. Can you imagine less than a penny, what it would be worth already? Well, oh my God, it's unbelievable. I mean, you buy you put in maybe $1,000 back then, what it would be worth today. It's unbelievable, 60, 70,000, just like that, and that's before it really even moves up. It might even be worth in the 100,000s, depending on how much you actually put in there. 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. It's risky, but if you have the money and you're willing to take the risk, there you go. Again, like at 2,500 coins, when it gets to $1, it's worth $2,500. So that's the other simple math for those of you that might be wondering, how does that work? What does this happen? That's kind of the simple math of it all. 2,500 coins. So per dollar, every time it goes up another dollar, it's another 2,500. And of course, the fractions in between. Each penny it goes up, X amount, like $25, basically, in that sense. And each 10 cent, and each time it goes up 10 cents, it's another 250, and blah blah blah, stuff like that. So it's generally pretty simple math. It's funny how all these, they look at the amount of Bitcoin, on most of these applications, every single different currency that's not Bitcoin is compared to Bitcoin. It's like, it's this amount of Bitcoin, 0.0000165 of Bitcoin. It's just kind of funny how they act like that's the only one. Cardano one's one that's, the price is all over the place, kind of bouncing around. It's not going up, it's not going down. $1.63, maybe because of the price. It might intrigue people. It's just that thought. What if it gets to $5? What if it gets to $4? What if it gets to $3? That's 100% just about right there. 90%, something like that. There's always that intrigue. There's always that temptation. Again, trade at your own risk, but it's interesting. It's fun. It's fun to keep up with this kind of stuff, and people are worried with the situation with the dollar and all that. And the worse the dollar gets, the more attractive this stuff is going to be, along with, of course, the precious metals like gold and silver. Like silver's climbing like it's going to the moon at some point. Gold obviously is what it is. Gold is money. Gold is the original form of money, to be quite honest. Gold and silver. They sold, Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery for, 30 pieces of silver, was it correct? I could be off there. Or was it 20 pieces of silver? Sorry. 20 pieces of silver when they sold him into slavery to Egypt. Yeah, again, further proof that there was slavery in other parts of the world other than just the evil United States is the only place that ever had slavery, and reparations are needed everywhere. Yeah, okay. Reparations are needed. And USA needs to be punished, and we got to tear down all of our history and burn it all down. Every statue, Yeah, well, there I go again, going off into that. But it sucks. It sucks to talk about that kind of thing. It's just reality, though, out there. But SHIB, that's that interesting one that I was just talking about. That could be very interesting in the next couple years or so. Buying a couple, just putting in like 20, 30, $40 in it. What the hell? Get a couple million, that's right, million coins. And let's see what happens. It's an interesting thought. Goes up even a little bit. It's a ton of percent for you. That's the thing, $300, 400, 500. Holy crap, 10,000, 100,000. You just don't know. I mean, because Dogecoin getting up into the mid pennies, all the way up to $1 possibly. Again, the fact that it was sub penny at one point, Lord have mercy. Hopefully something can happen. I mean, you might strike gold on one or two of these. And Dogecoin, apparently some people already have. If you want to hear about how smart she is, there's a girl named Living with Lucy out there, on YouTube. Oh Lord, can't believe I even mentioned. Yeah, she's a pure genius. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really dislike her. Just she's a little bit too much though for me. Kind of a little bit braggadocious, like drinking wine and getting half drunk about how she's made $1 million off it already, and it's like, okay, we're happy for you. Stuff like that, kind of a turn off in my opinion. Maybe some of you like that. She's certainly nice looking, so I'll give her that. Not many people would disagree with that statement, but I don't know. When I see kind of an arrogance and showing off, I kind of lose interest real quick. No matter what people look like, I kind of tend to go the other way when I see a little bit of egotistical behavior going on. I want to try to get to the mailbag here. I've already talked for 20 minutes about the cryptocurrency. I can only say so much about it. I might bore you to death. It might be at like some kind of a business meeting. You're like, okay, this is Greek to me. I don't know what you're talking about, Joey. Just move on to something else. Rip BLM. Yeah. We'll get to that at some point, I'm sure. To the Facebook page, facebook.com/freedom of thought, 1776. Mark Carlson from Iowa, legendary Purple Mafia Hall of Famer. That's my Minnesota Vikings podcast. Of course, I am based in the Twin Cities, for those of you that might be wondering. where Palladino Joey is from, actually. I'm not too worried to say where I'm from. I'm not too worried to say my real name either. Some people might be. Mark Carlson says, thank you for your latest thoughts, Joey Wygen, and it was fun to listen to. Now I hope others will continue to post and share as well. I hope so too. There are so many things happening internationally, nationally, regionally, and locally, and our established news media is not covering real news anymore. Yeah, they're only focused on like left-wing agenda. Honest to God, like keep pushing that left-wing agenda. Sleeves up, Minnesota. You know, like all these star players on the Twins. Yeah, boy, I really want advice for guys that can't even play. Okay, I'm just kidding. Max Kepler, give me a break. Max Kepler. Oh, who the heck is Max Kepler anymore? I don't know. I don't know who he is, man. Miguel said no. You can't even. I don't know if he can see the ball when it's coming to him. But if he makes contact, it's gone. He's like Jose Canseco when he was like 37. Anyhow, sorry. We are on our own, and it's pages and podcasts like this where, at least for now, we can talk about all the things that are going on. That's so true, and that's what I'm trying to be here for. I'd like to be here more often. I wish I wasn't so, busy and locked up with all these little things coming up all the time, and of course just the lawn service now and the regular job. It is what it is, and I'll keep trying to post when I can, and of course the fact when my wife's here, it's not comfortable really doing the show. She would give me hell. I think she'd give me a hard time with all the things I say. And yeah, I would have a hell of a time doing it. I post on the page from Ben Garrison, what am I saying? Posted an image of the terrible winter weather going on. And Bill Gates saying, let's block out the sun. Yeah, because there's talk about that's what he's been doing for years now with the chemtrails out there, from the airplanes. Yeah, call me a conspiracy theorist all you want, but they've even talked about it, like about getting these crystals out into the airplane exhaust when the planes are out there to reflect the sun back out into the atmosphere, so it doesn't come down to the troposphere, down into Earth, so to speak. It's pretty crazy stuff. It's crazy, and it works. It works a little bit because, oh my God, the Earth's getting too hot. It doesn't feel too hot around here. This has been a pretty chilly May. Very chilly May. Except for last Saturday when I got to 88 degrees. Ever since then, it's been freezing. So, I don't know, man. I don't know about Bill Gates, Al Gore. AOC. Occasional cortex, as Mr. Michael Savage would call her. And she is an occasional cortex at best. Meaning like her brain works once in a while. I'm not sure it does. It helps her walk and helps her lips flap. That's about it. I think that's about as far as you can go with AOC and her cortex occasionally working. Mark Carlson commenting on... Yeah, Mark Rosen. God, what a... Yeah, Mark Rosen. I don't like Mark Rosen either anymore. Henry Bleeping Lake. Can I mention Henry Lake? A guy I used to really be a fan of. Twin Cities. Sludgeon Lake. KFAN. Wolves After Dark. KFAN. Early 2000s. Then he went to Kansas City for a while, came back on WCCO, and it's the Lake Show, whatever, like in the evenings and such. I used to like this guy. He's an asshole. Henry Lake is an asshole, and I'm saying it straight up here. He is an ass. Let's read one of his tweets that I posted on the Facebook page. He says, it's just, some of these people, they really show their true colors when any type of race conversation gets brought up. And then it's like, I want nothing more to do with this jackass. He's got a chip on his shoulder the size of Alaska. I want nothing to do with people like this. Okay, let's see what he says. To put things in perspective for my white friends. Because they're so ignorant and stupid. Every single time I get in my car and go anywhere because of the police, there's an underlying fear for my life. Every time I make it home safely, it's like I've won the lottery. And I should never have to feel that way.
No, you ass, you moron dummy.
Now, I don't want to come off as condescending, ignorant, or arrogant, or whatever the heck you might want to call me. Really, man, I think it's the other way around. No, lad, I'm afraid it's the other way around. It's like, imagine the lottery going a negative way. Like, say you win the lottery, but it's like a bad thing, like the horrible events that could happen to somebody with an officer or whatever. It's the other way around, dude, about winning the lottery. In terms of winning/losing, the lottery, he would be losing, but like the likelihood of winning, that kind of percentage. That's about how often it happens. Because every time it happens, it's on front page news. You know how many people get pulled over? You know how many people drive home from work every day? Put that into perspective. Not just getting pulled over. Just the pulled over alone percentage of like a horrible event happening. And yes, people of color getting pulled over and a horrible event happening. A legitimately horrible event like that happening. Compared to, the amount of people and such. Again, just people just driving home, not getting pulled over. Or getting pulled over or not getting pulled over. The whole number, the percentage is insanity. The unlikelihood of that happening. So for this guy to tell his white friends, go ahead and tell your white friends that you feel like you've won the lottery every time you get home. Man, you must be a rich guy. You must be really lucky, Henry. Man, you ought to be a multi-trillionaire at this point. I mean, you must have won the lottery a lot of times because you've won the lottery every single time you have driven home safely. You frickin' idiot. You moron. You idiot. Statements like this are what are dividing this country straight in half. And you know what Henry Lake thinks about that? He doesn't give a damn. As long as his agenda gets pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, he will keep pushing it. He will keep saying it. He will keep dividing all he wants because he doesn't give a damn about anybody or anything except his god blank agenda. I almost cursed almost dropped a GD bomb, but I've had enough of this garbage. Had enough of it. Henry Lake, shut the hell up and move on, dude. I've had enough of this garbage. Shut the hell up. Oh my God. Stuff like that makes me sick. Sick. Here's an image, Minnesota. 0 days without being a national embarrassment, as it's just the DFL Blue. 0 days without being a national embarrassment. I agree. We have a couple comments here on this H. Lake garbage. Oh my God. Just comments like that. It's not helping anything. At very best, you're not helping anybody with this crap, dude. Matt Dorr says, yeah, Henry, I know what will fix this. Go burn down the cities and steal all the Walmart shoes you want to make to make you feel better. Exactly. That's about what's going on. And then he called me, I remember a while ago, he called me an effing dummy back in the end of May after the events of George Floyd. Yep. And I was saying these riots need to stop after he let out the biggest rant I've ever seen on Facebook. And he called us cult members for those of us that don't want to wear a mask and aren't scared of touching door handles every time we breathe. Like at work, you touch the door handle and like 3 feet in front of you, you wash your hands before you you wash your hands after you put your gown on. You're not going to get coronavirus touching that door handle. You're not going to get coronavirus. And I'm not even, seriously, just stop it. People are just such freaks about this crap. Just who's the cult member here? Seriously, H. Lake and other morons like that. Mark Carlson says, moreover, to be grateful for the peace officer for being on duty day and night to keep us safe. Trying to turn this upside down and making our brothers and sisters the bad guys does not fly. Thank you, Mark. I don't know why I clicked like. I need to click love. Tired. Yep, it's the way it is, though. It's pure insanity. These people are nuts. Henry Lake is a nut. I can't believe I ever listened to that son of a bitch. Seriously, pardon my French, but I hear stuff like that. I can't deal with it, man. That's just... And he called me an effing dummy last year for basically calling him out. Like, hey man, these riots need to stop. You're not helping here. He called me, he said, Joey, don't be an effing dummy. But he wrote the actual word out. A professional employee for WCCO who's live on the air 5-6 days a week dropped an F-bomb to me on Facebook. Think about that. You think back in the day somebody would be fired on the spot for that kind of nonsense. But oh no, not H. Lake. He's untouchable. You fire him, you're a racist. You know that, right? You're a racist, see? CDC reports, this is another post on Facebook, CDC reports 5,800 COVID infections in fully vaccinated people. Interesting. About 5,800 people who have been vaccinated against coronavirus have become infected anyway. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention tells CNN. Yeah, of all places, CNN. Some became seriously ill and 74 people died, the CDC said. It's at 396. 7% of those who got infected after they were vaccinated required hospitalization. Isn't that something? So it tells you again another thing about this vaccine. Is it even a vaccine at all? I don't know. And plus the endless side effects. Now, is it the mark of the beast? Probably not. But something similar to it probably is, the way it's heading. There's probably something else coming down the pipeline very soon. They're just preparing everybody for it. They're seeing how... It's like what It's like what Mr. Howard Stern said many years ago. There's a soundbite of him saying, we're just testing to see how dumb people are. He's just kind of messing around, you know? Yeah, they're just testing to see how dumb people are. Utah governor defends racism as long as it's against white kids. Yeah, amazing stuff. No comment there, but people were like, what the hell? Check that article out. Oh, man, I don't have too much time to get into that one. But basically, that's what it is. It's like, hey, if it's against white kids, it's okay, basically, no matter what it is. People like pushing them out of the way, cutting in front of them in line, pushing them to the back, calling on a white milk bottle or crack or whatever. It's okay, as long as it's against white people. Who cares? Who cares about those guys? Yeah, those damn white people. I mean, doesn't that not... I mean, did you ever hear the phrase, two wrongs don't make a right, at the very least? If you want to call people racist or whatever... To begin with, like blacks have been mistreated, and yes, they were mistreated years ago, yes, and occasionally, but I think nowadays everybody's being mistreated one way or another, for as much, if not more, than the other group. It's a joke, I think blacks are actually the least mistreated these days. You can say what you want about how the police might profile this and that. Look at the crime rates and the percentages. I'm sorry. And go ahead and don't give me this garbage about how there's way less black people. There's a lot of black people now, okay? It's not like it's 3% of the population, okay? So it is what it is. I got to get off of this. We shouldn't even be talking about it, but it is what it is. I mean, the percentages with the percentages. Crime rates are crime rates. It's not about race. It's about the character. It's not about the color of their skin, but their conduct and the conduct of their character. And if the conduct of your character sucks, I don't like you. Period. I don't care if you're white, black, Asian, Mexican, Portuguese. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole. That's just all there is to it. Judge men by the conduct of their character. Thank you, Martin Luther King. This is not Martin Luther King, folks. This is about white people suck. Cut it out. Cut it out, seriously. Cut it out. Take a look at yourself once in a while and move forward. Derek Chauvin was guilty on all the three accounts, whatever they were. It is what it is. He's going to spend X amount of time in prison, probably the rest of his life. Well, the mob got their way. It's one thing if he's guilty. It's another when bullies like this force their way through. And what happened to it? Yep, they force their way through. I hope they get what's coming to them later in life, especially Maxine Waters. She should never sit another day in office. Yeah, because see what happened was this was like people like Biden and all these groups demanding that these jurors find this man guilty in every count, so to speak. They wouldn't have been satisfied even with a first-degree murder, I don't think. But that's not what they got, thankfully, because it wasn't a premeditated murder. He did not get up that morning planning to kill George Floyd, him being Derek Chauvin. Distracted by the hockey game in the background. That's Kevin Fiala of the Minnesota Wild. Yep, sorry. Had to say that. Check out Brave the Wild if you're interested in that. I don't know. There was so much wrong with how that all took place. There was so much wrong with how all that took place. Seriously. The president saying, please I urge them to do the right thing and find this man guilty, blah, blah, blah. You can't do that. You can't do that. Isn't that not against the rules? Is that not against the rules of court? The court of law? Is that not against it? When I was a juror, way back on September 11th, 2000, do the math there, September 11th, 2000, 1 year before exactly. Yeah, you're not supposed to talk about it with anybody. There's not supposed to be any outside source whatsoever encouraging the juror to vote one way or the other. It's not supposed to happen. You have the president, you have Maxine Waters, the fake president, the president where more dead people and illegal aliens voted for him than real people. Probably, but, well, at least enough of them did in order to push him through, along with ballot stuffing and such. Yes, invisible ballots and such, pretty much. Yeah, I don't know what's left. Invisible ink. They gave Trump voters invisible ink pens, right? So the vote didn't count. Okay, sorry, I'm just making up. But who knows, right? I'm just making that up mostly. But there shouldn't be any outside source. They shouldn't threaten to riot and tear down a city. That's wrong. That's wrong. It's one thing if Chauvin guilty, and obviously he was guilty of something, at very least manslaughter. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit too much. Manslaughter, fine. But all this other stuff, it's just too much. And threatening to tear down a city and other cities throughout the country and throughout the planet, that's just wrong. That is bullying. That's evil. I think it's demon-possessed, quite frankly, that type of behavior. You have to be demon-possessed. Police officer was mocking LeBron James. See, I don't know if I can get the audio or even care to at this point, but he was making fun of something LeBron said about how... Let's see, I might be able to play it right now. I was going to earlier. It's slowly spinning around.
LeBron, hey, yeah, it's me again. Listen, I'm out here at this disturbance call, and there's a guy trying to stab another guy with a knife. What do you think I should do? Why does that matter? Okay, well, they're both black. Uh-huh. I see. So you don't care if a black person kills another black person, but you do care if a white top kills a black person, even if he's doing it to save the life of another black person? I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but then again, you are really good at basketball, so I guess I'll take your word for it. Sorry, guys. You're on your own. Good luck.
Yep, that was the police officer making fun of what LeBron had to say, basically. Yeah, LeBron's an idiot, obviously. LeBron basically just said, basically don't go near him. So, okay, fine, LeBron, that's okay. Yeah, it's a sick world out there. Looks like there's no comments. Hopefully you could hear that. You probably could hear at least enough of it. The GOP sweeps in Texas election as city revolts against Biden-backed critical race theory in schools. Yeah, critical race theory. My goodness, talking about racism. It's sick. I don't know why I'm clicking. Yeah, it's absolutely sick stuff. I do believe there was a post or two from Mark Carlson as well. We'll get to that shortly and wrap the show up. Yes, Mark from Iowa, from Radio Iowa here, he's posting an article that states, it was from OK Henderson, cool. The Iowa Senate approves ban on vaccine passports. So, well done, Iowa Senate. The Iowa Senate has sent the governor a bill to ban the state and local governments in Iowa from issuing ID cards so they have a COVID-19 shot. So that's good. That ends the possibility of literal fascism at this point. Go ahead and call it a health thing, which is a public health thing, which is what Dr. Fauci and Mr. Jordan had an exchange. Mark Carlson posted the video on the Facebook page. Again, facebook.com/freedom of thought 1776. Mark Carlson says, the good doctor will not answer the congressman's question. Just watch. Yep, and it's just the usual nonsense from Dr. Fauci when Jordan was asking, Representative Jim Jordan was asking basically, when does this end? When does this end? When are we going to be able to move on, take our masks off, live our lives normally, get our civil liberties back, our freedoms? And then Dr. Fauci gave the usual response of, I don't look at this as a freedom thing. I look at this as a public health thing. People from dying and going to hospitals and dying and this and that. It's just the usual nonsense from Dr. Fauci. I want to play it, but it's like a 7-minute video, that type of thing. I almost should play it, but maybe I'll wrap up the show with it right here.
Chairman, Dr. Fauci, when is the time? When is the time? Well, in your written statement, you say, now is not the time to pull back on masking, physical distancing, and avoiding congregate settings. When is the time? When do Americans get their freedom back? Can you put your microphone on, please?
Right. When we get the level of infection in this country low enough that it is not a really high threat.
What is low enough? Give me a number. We had 15 days to slow the spread, turned into 1 year of lost liberty. What metrics, what measures, what has to happen before Americans get their freedoms back?
My message, Congressman Jordan, is to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as we possibly can to get the level of infection in this country low that it is no longer a threat. That is when. And I believe when that happens, you will see.
What determines when?
I'm sorry.
What? What measure? I mean, are we just going to continue this forever, or when do we get to the point? What measure? What standard? What objective outcome do we have to reach before Americans get their liberty and freedoms back?
You know, you're indicating liberty and freedom. I look at it as a public health measure to prevent people from dying and going to the hospital.
You don't think Americans' liberties have been threatened the last year, Dr. Fauci? They've been assaulted. Their liberties have.
I don't look at this as a liberty thing, Congressman Jordan.
Well, that's
I look at
obvious.
this as a public health thing.
But
I disagree with you on that.
You think the Constitution is suspended during a virus, during a pandemic? It's certainly not.
This will end for sure when we get the level of infection very low. It is now at such a high level. There's a threat again of major surge.
Dr. Fauci, over the last year, Americans' First Amendment rights have been completely attacked. Your right to go to church, your right to assemble, your right to petition your government, freedom of the press, freedom of speech have all been assaulted. I mean, for a year now, Americans haven't been able to go to church. Even today, when they go to church, they're limited in the size of worshipers who can meet. Your right to assemble? Oh, my goodness. We had a curfew last fall in Ohio. You had to be in your home at 10. In Pennsylvania, you had to be in your home. When you're in your home, you had to wear a mask. In Vermont, when you were in your home, you didn't have to wear a mask, Dr. Fauci, because you weren't allowed to have people over to your house.
Yeah, Congressman Jordan.
Your ability to petition your government for a year, American citizens haven't been able to come to their capital to petition their government, to talk to their representatives, and freedom of the press. These very pictures that Representative Scalise just showed you and talked about, guess what? The press isn't allowed in those facilities. The Biden administration will not let the press in there. And certainly freedom of speech. I mean, the governor of our third largest state meets with physicians, and that video is censored because they dare to disagree with Dr. Fauci. So I just want to know, when do Americans get their First Amendment liberties back?
You know, I don't think anything was censored because they felt they couldn't disagree with me. I think you're making this a personal thing, and it isn't.
It's not a personal thing.
No, you are. That is exactly what you're doing.
No, your recommendations carry a lot of weight, Dr. Fauci. We just had the chair of the Financial Services Committee said she loves you and you're the greatest thing in the world.
My recommendations are consistent.
Will the gentleman yield?
No, it's my
No, can I answer the question, please? My recommendations are not a personal recommendation. It's based on the CDC guidance, which is.
And I'm asking the question, what measures have to be attained before Americans get their First Amendment liberties back?
I just told you that.
No, you haven't given anything specific. You said, we hope when this... Tell me specifically.
Right now, we have about 60,000 infections a day, which is a very large risk for a surge. We're not talking about liberties. We're talking about a pandemic that has killed 560,000 Americans.
I get that,
That's what we're talking about.
And I don't disagree with that. And I understand how serious that is. But I also understand it's pretty serious when businesses have been shut down. People can't go to church. People can't assemble in their own homes with their friends, with their families. People can't go to a loved one's funeral. People can't get to their government, petition their representative to redress their grievances. Right. I also understand the First Amendment's pretty darn important. And it's been a year. And I want to know when Americans will get those First Amendment liberties back.
Well, you just said people cannot assemble in their own homes. They can. That's a CDC recommendation for vaccination.
Not last fall they couldn't.
I didn't hear.
Not last fall they couldn't.
And Mark pretty much summed it up. The question really never really was answered, other than it'll be when things are further down than where they are now. And that's just, he's going to say that until the cows come home. And they're going to always, the way we come up with these cases and everything, and the deaths, the falsifying the deaths is insanity, gunshot wounds, they died of coronavirus. Heck, they even say George Floyd died of coronavirus. And if he did, well, then what murder happened? They even said that George Floyd died of coronavirus. It's absolutely insane. So, anybody with the flu, it's coronavirus. It's actually not corona, it's the flu, this and that. They turned the flu into coronavirus because flu never existed. The numbers of people that died of the flu, pretty much about the same amount of people that have died of coronavirus year in and year out for many, many years. So sorry, I think that's a bunch of nonsense, and I think a lot of people out there would as well. The virus is real. It's basically it's a different form of the flu. That's what it is. The flu's bad. Don't get me wrong. The flu's going to make you feel like crap, and it's going to kill people. That's a fact. If you're malnourished, if you have underlying issues, the flu can kill people. And it can certainly kill people that are hospitalized already or, of course, in nursing homes. There's a big threat with that. So, I mean, Dr. Fauci is just going to keep pushing the goalpost, as many people would say, including Bob Bierman of Truth to Ponder. Just keep pushing that goalpost, keep pushing the goalpost, and they're going to keep falsifying the numbers. So it basically, they never want it to end. Luckily, it looks like there's light at the end of the tunnel in Minnesota, believe it or not, with Governor Walz possibly taking things off as soon as the end of May and at the latest early July. So very exciting that there'll be no more mask mandate by July here in Minnesota. But the problem is, just watch how many businesses and companies will still say, keep the mask on, this and that. And of course, Dr. Fauci will keep urging that as well because he can. And nobody's going to get rid of him, this and that. Not this administration. Oh, no. We'll need a miracle from God pretty much to push this Biden garbage out of the office soon as possible. Maybe actually reveal the truth here to what really happened in the election, because there's too much evidence to say that Joe Biden is obviously won here. It's way too much evidence pointing the other direction. Thank you very much. With that said, thank you very much, Mark Carlson, for your inclusion, and others in the past as well. Actually, there was another person today which I really appreciated. See if I can get to that one real quick. I had him up there. I believe that was after that stupid line by Henry Lake. Yep. That was Matt Dorr. Yep. Thank you, Matt Dorr. Please comment more often. Apologize. It's been infrequent, the release of the show, but at least you got a nice, good, solid one in here today. Cryptocurrency and then back into the politics and all that. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell your friends about the show. Spread the word about the show, this and that, and I'll do my best to keep these coming, hopefully more often than not at the end of the day. With that said, God bless America, and God bless you all.